Hi, welcome to the Spotlight webinar for July. I'm Dale Franks. I'm a little confused because apparently Zoom has changed the way they notify you whether you are muted or not when you turn record on, but it looks like we're recording. So I think we are good to go for the webinar. Got a lot to talk about today in this particular webinar. So we're going to go through it as quickly as possible. I don't really have the ability to do a lot of demo today. I can show you some stuff, but there are several things to go through. So let's get right into it. First of all, we have some custom task updates. We've added some functionality to 3 different custom tasks, so we'll need to discuss that. There is a new version of the Gantt chart. It doesn't replace the old version, but it is a better version and hopefully will be better in the future. There's some new AI features that we also need to discuss with the product. One of them security related, and we'll talk about that. And finally, we'll cover some of the bug fixes that we have covered since we last spoke in June. So let's start off with some of the custom tasks. We made a change to copy form data and run process. Both of those CTs now do something a little bit new, and it's the way that they handle attachments. If we go and take a look at, let's just take a look at copy form data, because copy form data actually contains 2 features that we need to discuss. This setting right here, well, I didn't mean to highlight the entire section. This setting right here is brand new. Copy attachments as independent objects. Up until now, what happens whenever you do a copy form data or a run process, because it's the same property for both of the custom tasks? Up until now, what would happen is that you would upload a document attachment, and that document attachment lives in one place, usually as an attachment to the process timeline. If I copy the form and I copy over all of the attachments, what actually gets copied over is a reference to the original document attachment that you uploaded. So in this case, for copy form data, let's say I've got a document attachment. I've attached it to Form A, or the timeline for Form A. And then I copy it over and I say, I want to copy all of my timeline references, right? So I want to copy over all of the timeline references and I want to copy over all of the documents. Okay, great. What would get copied over would be a reference to the original, which meant any change that I made to the original document would be changed everywhere, even in the copied version, because it's not really copying the document. What it's copying is a reference to the document. So I basically have one document. That's my canonical document. And I can copy form data a whole bunch of times. I can run a sub process a whole bunch of times. And every time I do that, and I say include the document attachments, what's happening is it's including a reference. That one document attachment still exists in its original form in one place. And if I change that original document, it changes it for every other copy. What this property does when checked, and it is, by the way, unchecked by default so that the previous behavior still works the way it was supposed to work, unless you configure this differently by checking this box. When this box is checked, it does not copy a reference. It actually makes a separate copy of the document attachment. It is now a new copy of the document. It has its own object ID in the system. It has its own rich, full, and independent life. That means if I go back and edit the original document, whatever changes I may make to that document are not reflected in any of the copied documents, because when this is checked, they're going to be a brand new copy of that document. So we are now actually copying the document when this is checked, not copying the reference to the original document. So that is a fundamental change to the way that attachments work. So if you do not want to create brand new copies of the document, then I'd suggest you not check that box, so that the previous behavior of just having the references copied over so that you have one canonical copy, that is unchanged unless you click that box. So unless you want to do that, don't click that box. This also appears, and I guess I can open it up real quick, on the Run Process Custom Task. It is on the Advanced tab. I think it's the Advanced tab on the bottom. Again, it has the same setting, copy attachments as independent objects. So that one setting has been added to both of the custom tasks. Copy form data has an additional setting that is new, called Resolve Row Aware System Variables per Array Row. Currently, what the behavior is in Process Director is it just pulls back the array row values, and all of the system variables that are included in an array are evaluated once, and they're evaluated once by column in the array. And we had a customer that said what we would prefer to do is to run through them row by row, because we're using some system variables that are row dependent. And in fact, the simplest version of that would be the row num system variable, right? The row num system variable is a system variable that tells you what array row it is on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a row aware system variable. Well, when you did a copy form data, it wouldn't copy the array row, and you never copied it over, because if you had an array row on the new array when you were copying from array 1 to array 2, then you just would not copy the array row. But there are some other system variables that are row dependent that would also only get evaluated once, and the same value would appear in every row in an array if you were copying from one array on the original form to a different array on the second form. So what this setting does now is, if I am copying from array 1 to array 2, and this setting is turned on, then it will evaluate row by row what the row aware system variables are. So again, if we go back to the simplest one, the row number system variable. So now, instead of just having one value for row num, which I think would actually be the highest value. I'm now trying to remember how to do it because I never actually tested it, but I think it pulled the highest value. So if you had 9 rows in the array, all 9 rows, the value of row num, if you stuck it into a form field, would be 9. And the same was true for other system variables that were dependent on the row. So with this setting, we now go through row by row. So if I'm transferring from array 1 to array 2, it will match the row aware values from the first array to the second array. So rather than just doing a single evaluation and just returning the comma separated list, which is hard for system variables, right? Because rows don't have any context when you're looking at an array from the outside. What a field returns is just a single comma separated list of values. And that's fine for most things. It's not fine for system variables because they don't know what row they're on. And so they're only going to return a single value when you evaluate the array by column. Because the row number has no context when you're outside of the array. So we've gone back and changed that behavior. So now If you do want to use a row aware system variables and you want to transfer them over directly into form fields in a second array, you can now do that by checking this value, because instead of just checking once from the outside of the array what all the values are, this will force Process Director to go into the array, go row by row, and pull the appropriate values out of the array row. So that's copy form data and run process. Then there is API call from a business value. We have made a significant change to this business value in terms of how we pull back data from a REST response. Because while we could pull using JSON path or XOM path, and we could pull a specific value, we didn't really pull anything else other than that value. Fine in most cases, but there are cases where you do need to either set a static value or you just want to return the entire REST response and place it into a form field. So we've updated how we can pull data out of the business value whenever we call it. And it's right here. We have a couple of new properties. So all of these properties right here, those are all new, and they're going to change based on what I select in value source. So the first option I have is to pick a static value or a system variable. It says system token here. I really dislike that language, and I think that may get changed to system variable because I'm certainly going to introduce a Jira ticket to have that changed. But basically, if I want to put in a system variable, as it says right there, if I want to put in a system variable, I can put that here in this field, or if I wanted a static value, 2, there we go. That's the value I want to pass. I can do that now. And so as I find what field I want to update, if it needs a static value, I can set it here. The next option I have is a response attribute. Now, this is more or less what we're used to doing. I can now choose whether I'm just going to pull a value out of the REST response, either using JSON path or XPath, whatever format the REST call returns, whether it's JSON or XML. I choose the appropriate path syntax, and then I can just throw in the XPath or JSON path expression that I want right there to denote where that value is found in the REST call return. And then I have the full response body selection, which will not require, obviously, any sub properties of that. It's going to actually take the full REST response, whatever it is, JSON or XML, and it's just going to take and put that entire REST response into the form field that you select to update with the custom task. So it gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of what we can place inside a form field when we call the API call from business value custom tasks. So I think that's going to be a big improvement. Also, not a custom task, but I couldn't figure out where else to stick it. Table accessibility. So a lot of times, people, in fact, most of the time, I think I should say, people will use tables to do layout. Technically, you're supposed to use div tags and flex grids and things like that. But in Process Director, whenever we're building a form, like we're working inside a section control or what have you, tables are the easiest and quickest ways to do layout. The problem is that for accessibility reasons, what happens when a screen reader hits a table is it announces loudly, "This is a table. It must contain tabular data." And when you're using tables for layout, that's not true. So we have added something to tables to change that, and that is the ARIA role attribute. So if I just go to the design view of this form, there is, I thought there was a table on this form. Perhaps I didn't save it, but that's fine. We'll just stick a table on this form. And this tab is not changed. I still have my caption and my summary for accessibility, but on the Advanced tab, we now have the role attribute that enables you to decide whether this is actually a table or whether you're just using it for presentation or layout. When you set the role to presentation, which by the way is the default, because that's probably 95% plus of your table usage, it is default set to presentation. Whenever the ARIA role is set to presentation, the screen reader will not announce it as a table. In fact, it will ignore the table structure entirely. It'll just skip right past it, gloss over it, and will treat everything in that table as if it was just normal text, labels, data entry controls, and what have you. So what you get is the ability to use the table for layout. So if I want to stick a little table inside a section control to hold my controls, I can do that. And by default, the table will be set to presentation, and screen readers will ignore that. If you are actually presenting tabular data, well, you also want your user to know that too. So the alternate setting for a table is in fact table. And when you set it for table, the screen reader will expect it to be tabular data, and it will announce it as such to the end user. So this is an accessibility improvement that one of our customers asked for, and it's actually a very good accessibility improvement, and it will improve the lives of any of your users who are sight impaired and who do use a screen reader. It will make things a lot better for them. So those are our custom task updates. Now let's talk about the new custom or the new activity type that we have added. We have an AI agent activity type that we've added. Essentially, what it does is it enables you to send a prompt to whatever AI system it is that you're using. Whatever action you've asked to have that AI system do in the prompt will occur. Then a user task will be assigned to a user to review whatever it was that you asked the AI to do. You can't just ask the AI to do something and then elide past what it did. Someone needs to approve it. That is part of our human in the loop rule. As useful as LLMs are for many things, there is always the danger of hallucination or just asserting something confidently that is absolutely wrong. So someone needs to approve anything that you have AI do. So this AI agent activity type has its own special tab for your AI actions, but it also has a participants tab. So you can assign it to the reviewer. It has a results tab so that you can add the results of whatever the review is going to be, whether it's approved or whether it needs to be done again or restarted. That's entirely up to you, but you do have a participant. Somebody is going to review what it is that you told the AI to do, and they are going to have to provide you with results. The actual custom tab that is unique to this activity is the AI agent tab. It has both the instructions that you want to give to the AI and some security limitations that you might want to impose on it. So at the top, you have your prompt text. That's just what you are telling the AI to do. Right below that, you have the data source. Now, there is a new AI data source. I think we discussed that previously, but I'm not entirely sure. But this AI data source is specific to whatever LLM that you might be using. It could be on Azure, so you could be using, just the built-in I think it's still Copilot. It's run by ChatGPT, whatever it is. But you can set your data source type to AI. In this case, I'm using default connection parameters, but you can also put in the JSON for whatever your regular connection parameters are to whatever AI system it is that you might happen to be using. But you need to have this AI data source so that we know, so that the AI agent knows who we're talking to, actually who the AI agent is. And then once I know that, I can go back to my activity here and I can assign that AI data source as the data source. So this provides the connection to whatever LLM model that you are hooked up to. The prompt is what that LLM model is going to do. And then below that, we have a whole list of things that agent might do. And the default is allow, but you can allow, you can have it prompt, presumably the user who gets assigned the task, to for permission to continue, or you can deny permission. And so there are all of these permissions here that AI agents might have access to. Do you want them to read KView data? Okay, well, there we go. We have a get KView data. Do you not want them to read KView data? Well, you can deny it. You can turn it off. So all of these are the tools that the AI has access to. Each one of these tools has an explanation of what it does, and then you have the ability to deny any or all of these permissions, although I suspect that denying all of the permissions would mean that your AI agent couldn't actually do anything. But this is a new activity type. It's already documented in the documentation. You can look at it. It's not super complex, actually. It's just a prompt and setting permissions, and you might not even set permissions. You sort of write the prompt, assign your participants, assign the results, and you hit close, you're done. So it's not a complex activity, but I think it might turn out to be one that's relatively useful, especially if you need to do some summarization or analysis of document attachments or what have you. There's also another security setting that we've had to add to the IT admin area for custom table access. So almost all of you, I would assume, have multiple tables that you have created in the internal user database by importing, in most cases, Excel files. Well, all of these custom tables, by default, if you set up an AI agent, it can access them. Now, you may not want that to happen. You may have tables that have some sort of, PII data or what have you that you don't want the AI system to be able to access. So you need to be able to block that access in the product. So in the product, if we go to settings and configuration, there is a new page in the configuration section called Custom Table Access. And again, it's pretty simple. It lists all of the custom tables you have. Like on this system, I have 71 custom tables that I have built at various times to make this system work, including the included stuff like BP process tasks. So some of the included views that are there in Process Director, it includes as well. But I have all this brand user data, BU information. I have no idea what that is. Probably something I created 10 years ago. My sample projects, my ski resorts. I've got all kinds of stuff here. Let's say that I do not want my AI agent to be interested in skiing. Then I can just hit that switch and turn it on. And now the Excel ski resorts table is no longer accessible by the AI system. And I can just shut off access to whatever tables I want, and the AI simply won't be able to look at them. That's all you have to do is turn that access on or off. Do note that whenever you turn it on or off, you will get these little notification banners that pop up that tell you, hey, you've given the system access to this, or you have denied the system access to this. But those are the new AI features that we've added. A question. What if someone enters secure info in a form and we don't want it accessible elsewhere, not just AI? Um, well, I'm not sure that this is something I can answer here in this particular forum. Um, And I'm not sure what the answer is. If someone opens a form and they enter secure info into the form, that's a bad security practice. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to tell you. I think I'd probably need some more information, and that would probably need to be a conversation that we would need to cover elsewhere. But whatever it is that humans can do, and humans can do a lot of things that you don't want them to do, you can stop the AI from doing similar things. Okay, there's a new Gantt chart. We are not replacing the existing Gantt chart that we put in 6.0.100, but we have added a new Gantt chart. It adds a couple of new features. There are filters. Now, there's only one filter right now that you can configure. So that is still a work in progress. And I think we're going to figure out ways to add some different filters to that Gantt report or that Gantt chart. But for right now, we can only filter by turning milestones on or off in the Gantt chart. You can, however, set parent and child colors for the Gantt chart bars. A couple of different ways, actually. Automatic PDF export, and there's improved control over what it is that you can actually see. So I have a Gantt chart here, which basically I just made out of the old Gantt chart. So the first thing to point out on the Gantt chart, and really the only thing that matters on the Gantt chart is the chart data source tab. All of these properties here, from ID all the way down to scale, are exactly the same properties that were in the old Gantt chart. By the way, the old Gantt chart now shows up as Gantt chart legacy. So if I go over here and pick my chart type, Gantt chart is the new Gantt chart. Gantt chart legacy is the existing one, the one that we put in 6.0. So Gantt chart is the new Gantt chart. But all of the data is the same here, so it operates. So basically, all I did is use my existing data source for the old Gantt chart, and I just reused it and picked the fields. All the fields are the same. The information required to make a Gantt chart work has not changed, at least down to scale. Below scale, I have parent task color and child task color. Got two options here. I can either pass the color via a field in my data source. I have no such field, so I can't use it. But if you did have a field that specified a color, you could set it here, or you could choose a color manually using the color picker control that is included on this tab so that you could set the color of your parent and child activities. So whenever my Gantt chart runs, there are my two parent activities, task 1 and task 4. And of course, each one of these is expandable for my child activities. So let's take a quick look at what we're seeing here. We have show milestones, which is not going to do anything because the old data source that I used does not have any milestones. A milestone is something that has just a start date. The start date and the end date are exactly the same. A milestone takes place at a specific point in time, while a task or an activity takes multiple increments of time, in this case, a couple of days. Milestones show up as diamonds on the Gantt chart, and milestones, like I said, they take place at a specific point in time, like, manager approval. It was done on this date. I have a specific point in time that the milestone occurred. I don't have any milestones, so doing show milestones doesn't do anything. Presumably, we're going to be adding some more filters here to enable you to filter what you see in the Gantt chart. A lot of improvements on the top. There is an export to PDF button, which will, if you click it, export the Gantt chart to PDF. There's my Gantt chart in PDF. There. I'm not sure what those bars are. This is obviously a development server, but it does export to PDF. So as you can see, it actually works. And let's close that off. I have the ability to expand and contract all of my tasks. I've got zoom in and zoom out buttons to show different time increments. So I can switch between them really quickly. I can click reset zoom. That will set it back to whatever zoom level I have set in the chart data source tab. The scale in this case is set to week. So therefore, when I click reset zoom, it resets it to the weekly view. And then I have two views. Right now I'm looking in the compact view, but if I click compact, it will switch over to the default view, which just adds some extra vertical space to make my bars a little larger vertically. Obviously, if you set it back to compact, you will get more activities showing up or more tasks showing up vertically in the Gantt chart. So it just gives me a little extra vertical space to show a couple of more activities if you have many activities in your Gantt chart. But that is the new Gantt chart. So I like it. I think it does look a little more modern. Still needs a little work. We still need to figure out what different types of filters we want to provide, but we are making a lot of progress on that. Finally, let's talk about bug fixes. Some of these are weird and are kind of edge cases, but we have caught them either through our own testing or customers doing weird things have caught them, and they've been fixed. First of all, impersonation stuck in a user's account. It's a weird issue where you would turn impersonation on, and it was caching your impersonation. And I don't remember whether this was a browser thing or what it was, but you would turn impersonation off, but you were still impersonating the user. So that's something we addressed. Form margins, that is important. And I have closed down my process director instance, apparently. I shouldn't have done that. But you may have noticed that there are no margins around the edge of the form. Everything just goes right to the edge of the form. It's ugly. It doesn't give you any breathing space on the form. Something was overriding the form margins in our CSS. So it was a CSS issue that we fixed to add back, I think it's either a 5 or 10 pixel margin on the outside of the form container so that everything isn't just butted right up against the edge of the browser window. List box focus. This was a tricky one because the focus was actually occurring, but you couldn't see it because of the way list boxes are rendered. List boxes are rendered inside a container that is not actually selectable. So when you use the set focus custom task to set the focus to a list box, the focus was actually being set. You just couldn't see it because it was being set to a non-visible element of the page document object. So we changed that to actually move it to the very first item in the list box. So the very first item in the list box will be selected. And this is an accessibility improvement. Like I said, it was actually selecting the list box. What you didn't see was a visual indication that the list box was selected. Although if you hit the tab key, it would actually tab you through the list box item. Hitting tab once would select the first item. So what we've done is we've just stopped trying to grab that outer div tag, which is not visibly selectable, and we've just gone to the very first item in the list box. As you may know, when an activity is running, you right click on it and select Restart Activity. Sometimes right clicking and selecting Restart Activity didn't, and the activity never restarted. So we had to do a little investigation to see what was causing that. REST business values returning bad data. This is not an error in Process Director as much as it is a little what the French would call gaucherie. We were not gracefully handling situations where a REST call either returned non-REST data or it didn't return anything. And we were just popping up a very ugly error message that said, things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. The sky is falling. We now handle that more gracefully. So we let you know in a more graceful way that there's some issue with your REST call. It's either not returning the expected XML or JSON data, or it's just not returning anything. And so we handle that now more gracefully. A weird export error. If I was exporting a form and it was numeric, and the value in that numeric form field was larger than the maximum value of an int32 database field, the error would fail and say, your value is out of range. For some reason, it was running everything through an int32 test to see if the value was right. That is wrong. So it was a really rare thing, but it actually just came up on a form and we fixed that. Mismatched embedded sections. Embedded sections are always troublesome because you have to have a start and an end control. Sometimes gets confusing. People sometimes get confused to the point that they either put in too many section end controls or not enough section end controls, making the form unparsable. The form was so unparsable that when you tried to reopen it in the online form designer, you couldn't fix the error. So we have made those errors fixable. Finally, there were a couple of other CSS display issues like the list box focus that we fixed, pretty minor issues, and an issue with scheduled goal evaluations where the goal evaluations were not occurring in sort of the time frame when you would expect them to occur. So some goal evaluations were being skipped. So we went in and corrected that to ensure that goal evaluations fire when goal evaluations are supposed to fire. And that's all I have for you today. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll say, have a great month. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I will look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, so long.